All right. Welcome back to another episode of Twisted Metal Companion, and I am Peter. And in the driver's seat is Tyler. How you doing, sir?
Very good.
All right. We are finally getting together to talk about the very first episode, season one. Will You Drive? WLUDRV. I think we'll figure out. I mean, I should just read it as it's supposed to be, right? They're just vanity plates. I mean, do you have any other suggestions?
As to what it could mean,
No, no, not necessarily mean we'll get there, but like in terms of how I read it, should I spell it out like I just did, or should I just always read it as it's intended?
oh yeah, I mean, I think just as it's intended, you
Okay.
know,
So
start
like,
off
wait,
every
wait.
episode with
What,
a bunch of
which
letters.
which episode is this? WL what now? All right, you guys. So yeah, really excited to finally get into this. We had a couple interviews. Really excited to have had done those to get some insight. Tyler, did you get a chance to listen to any of those?
Yeah, they were great.
Yeah, I had a really good time speaking with Stacey Perry and Liz Vestola about what they've done on the show and to give us some insight too. So learned a lot from them, and hopefully you guys check out those interviews if you are looking for more Twisted Metal content. I don't believe there's any news really to report in terms of the strike. They're still striking. Nothing's really been. Nothing's done. Nothing has been done since then. If anything, I think we've learned Bob Iger's more of a dick.
Yeah, it somehow uh, becomes more true.
Yeah, and also the APMF, A- whatever that union is, I guess they hired a PR firm recently for reasons which doesn't sound good on their part, right? If they're, I don't know if it's collateral damage for lack of a better phrasing, but I don't think this looks good for them because the one thing that stuck with me through kind of reading, watching clips and things on the WGA and also the SAG strikes. One of the things that stuck out is like they always win. They're always going to win something. It's just a matter of how long,
Mhm.
the studio execs and what have you, kind of give in. So nothing to update, uh, but the ball has started rolling ish, like a slight nudge, if you will. So yeah, hopefully something comes a lot sooner than later. Uh, Tyler, Mr. Bean, you're familiar with, yes?
Rowan Atkinson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that clip him and Hugh Laurie did where they were like William Shakespeare and like his editor?
No.
So I was just kind of reminded of that clip earlier today and kind of reminded me of like what's going on really. And like the studio execs trying to basically break down the format that is of like a career writer and replace with AI and whatnot. So in this clip, it's like in front of a theater audience, right? They're thespian actors, Hugh Laurie and Rowan Atkinson. And so Hugh Laurie is Shakespeare, and he gives you this really long, um, whichever literature vocabulary goes in here, but he gives this not quite of a monologue, but it's like a really long sentence, and in there somewhere is to be or not to be, right? And so he says this, and then the editor's like, it's a little long, let's see if we can cut it down somehow. And so he chops a few things, and then it turns into something a little bit shorter, and then ultimately it ends up to be or not to be. And Shakespeare's like, well, what the hell does that even mean? To be or not to be? Like, he's like, so that's kind of like that's what I feel is like what's going on right now.
Mhm.
Um, Another clip today, Charlie Kaufman, was talking about how they're basically like ruining the art of writing, and these things I bring up because I feel people who are not really keeping a pulse on the strike and maybe just kind of reading things casually, like myself. I'm not gonna say like I'm extensively doing the research, but I think some of these things we hear about because we don't go through it ourselves. We process it a little bit differently.
Mhm.
And so when I hear things like, oh, certain actors, or actors in general, they have to make a certain amount a minimum annual salary just to uh, be able to qualify for like insurance. Like that
Hmm.
stuff I understand. And it's just, it's crazy out there. So like a lot of people in the things that are being reported is really only a minimum. But again, please, hopefully that a fair deal can be made and everyone can get back to working and producing things that they love and we love as well. So just kind of want to get on my soapbox a little bit. Anything to add there?
Uh, no, yeah, I mean, I'm right there in the
Oh,
same
okay.
boat.
I
Like
thought your hand was going up, like you're about to say
oh no,
something. Okay.
but yeah, they deserve to be paid a fair wage, and like uh, it seems like the studios are just hell bent on, we're gonna have a computer write a bunch of ideas, and then you can come in and clean them up, and
Right.
it won't be your work, you won't get ownership of it,
It,
and
uh, it,
it's
in their mind, it's like the Batman Begins, right? It's like, oh, we'll just break a pool stick and like whichever writer wins will come in and polish up that script. I
mm,
mean, Jesus Christ. All right. So 101, you guys, will you drive the name game? Either I'll have it, have you start off the name game. What do you think will you drive means?
I mean, I think it's probably the offer that Raven has for John that we'll get into in a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I did a rewatch not too long ago before this recording. I was kind of, well, throughout the day, I was watching bits and pieces when I could without the kids around, as a refresher. And that was the only thing that really stuck out because like everyone else behind the wheel is already behind the wheel, really. And we'll kind of get through those scenes. This episode was directed by Kitao Sakurai, I believe is how he pronounced his name. I tried looking up something that he has done. I'm not familiar with his work, but he has directed like 63 episodes on the Eric Andre show. Um, I don't believe I saw anything that was like action except for like a Netflix film that he did called Bad Trip, I believe it was, a few years
Oh,
back, maybe like 10 years ago.
yeah, that's an Eric Andre movie.
Yeah, is that something you saw?
I don't think I ever actually saw it, but it's kind of like that bad grandpa, like there's
Yeah.
a narrative, but
Okay.
there's stunts, pranks and stuff like that.
Ah, might have to check that out. Might have to check that out. And then this is written by showrunner and Cobra Kai producer and writer Michael Jonathan Smith. Here going forward, because it sounds like a lot of the crew members calls him this as well. We'll just refer to him as MJ. So when you guys hear us say MJ, we're referring to Michael Jonathan Smith, showrunner slash writer of the first two episodes, and I believe the finale, if I'm not mistaken. Um, yeah, I believe he's got at least three episodes. So, for those that have not listened to like a companion treatment of a like a episode breakdown, we're gonna go scene by scene. I'm gonna kind of give a prompt of the scene we're at, and we're just gonna kind of give our thoughts, and just analyze, so to speak, kind of see what we can learn from the characters and just anything we pick up from the scene itself. So I was a little surprised, Tyler, the trailer, right? If you remember the first trailer that we got, were you surprised how much of that trailer was like the first couple episodes?
Uh, no, I mean, that's kind of happens a lot with shows. You don't want to give away anything too late into
Right.
it. Uh, so yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we'll get there. I know they tease something a little bit later, but you want to show like some action, obviously. But what I was surprised about was how we do start off in the middle of the chase inside the mall, which was, featured in the trailer. So I was a little surprised that we started here, but just right before this chase, we do get like some dialogue from John Doe, who we're introduced to, obviously, and he tells us, something that happened over 20 years ago, and he's a milkman. So, like, with your little bit of experience with the video games, did you remember much about the character of John Doe, in the video games versus like how he's shown in the show?
No, yeah, not at all. I honestly like going into it. I just assumed that they made up a character. It fits on a license plate. It's a go to for, oh, this guy is, kind of anonymous. Yeah.
Now, inside the chase inside the mall, he ejects a Jerky Boy CD. Now, they were big when I was in high school, but they were a blind spot for me. I knew a lot, like they get referenced a lot. These are guys who did prank calls, yeah?
Yeah, prank calls. Yeah.
Or were they the ones that did like voices and
Yeah, they had a lot of different characters. I've never listened to the Jerky Boys. I've seen the Jerky Boys movie on
hmm,
HBO.
I remember
Uh,
that.
yeah.
Oh, that mean coming out, didn't see it. I mean, these guys were kind of like the 90s like jackasses, right? In
yeah.
a
I
sense,
mean,
in terms of like the stuff that they made, like the absurdity of it. Like people were checking out the Jerky Boys because of their crank calls. You know,
mhm,
Jackass comes along, people are watching it because of their stunts.
yeah.
In a sense. Did not know they did CDs, so I'm sure it's just like a bunch of tracks of their actual calls. Now, this thing that John Doe does, he's like, "Who's left?" Gary, Larry. What did you get? Did you get anything from that at all? Like, why do you think he
Uh,
named them?
I don't know. I kind of just took it as, like he's kept track of who's chasing him,
Hmm.
and has assigned a name. But he could have like had. I think he refers to them as vultures
Yeah.
that are chasing him. Yeah. It could be that he's just familiar with their camp, so he actually does know it is Jerry.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just a personal kill.
Right. Yeah, for me, kind of like that first part that you said that I feel, like like going into the mall, he had an idea of how many vehicles were chasing him and he named them all. So that way he knew who was left. And the names rhyming probably just, to make it easier to remember. Here's a couple of the things that I saw in terms of the stores that they drove by. EB Games, which I believe we,
Mhm.
discussed in our, season one recap with Radic and gamer Jay Lee.
Mhm.
I know I had a trouble remembering his name, but Mrs. Fields, that's like a cookie joint, right?
Yeah, cookies.
So
Yeah,
something
and
like
the
that,
the EV gets blown up, and the twisted metal
right?
for PlayStation
Just your
hits the
Easter
window.
egg. Camelot Music. Was there another music place there, or
I
was it
didn't.
just Camelot?
Yeah, I didn't see one. Uh,
The reason I ask is because I did that poll online. Did you see that about the music stores?
nope.
So over on Twitter, uh, I did a poll on like, hey, yeah, he drove by Camelot Music, which I saw, and I was asking people, like, which music store did they frequent when they were younger? You know, mainly like in their teens. And on Twitter, it was, I believe Tower Records won, but not by much. In behind it was iTunes. So I think we got like a younger audience. So we have the older group, and then like a big old drop to iTunes. Nobody remembered Musicland. Do you remember Musicland, or is that a blind spot for you too?
Yeah, don't remember Musicland.
I believe they
Fye.
were
That's the one I know.
FYE replaced Sam Goody.
Okay.
Okay, and the way I understand, Musicland was also the Wall, if people are familiar with the Wall. And to me, and please correct me if I'm wrong, listeners, but it kind of reminded me of like Hardee's and Carl's Jr. So I think Musicland and the
Mm.
Wall are one and the same. But Tower Records is one that I used to frequent just because it was a lot bigger, and then you also had a movie section. So um, that's where I would go. And then also on Instagram, Tower Records won out. So, let's see here. Wet Seal, you did question that during our,
Yes.
the episode breakdown.
Yeah, still have no idea. I think you said it was a clothing store. I don't
Women's clothing
understand.
store. It came out, I'm pretty sure after Forever 21. I don't know who came out first, right? But Forever 21, I feel kind of became big. And then you had stores like Mariposa and Wet Seal and very other similar, like the clothing, I believe are they're very affordable, but they look expensive,
Mm.
is kind of the idea.
It's what we
Um,
call fast fashion now.
yeah, is that what it is? Fast
I
fashion? I'm
think
I'm
so.
learning
Yeah.
here. Yeah, I mean, Well, we're probably going to be some of the older heads, in terms of like Twisted Metal content. Um, and okay, so did you catch anything else in the sequence in the mall chase other than him grabbing a pair of J's at the Foot Locker on the way out?
No, just that those are immaculate shoes that somehow have just been sitting there amongst the rubble. No one has grabbed. I was convinced it
And
was going to be bait. I think we mentioned it during the preview.
it
Uh,
would be good bait. I mean, because it looks very nice and clean. Mind you, maybe they're the first ones to have entered there, for a while. I'm kind of guessing that maybe there's really no community near that mall. Surprised, because if anybody's seen like Dawn of the Dead, right? Like the Snyder, or even, which is a remake, obviously, of George Romero. But I feel a mall would be a pretty good place to you know, um, kind of stay in. You got a lot of stores, but I don't know. Maybe not so much security. There's probably like a hunting store and stuff. I don't know. I just feel
good,
that
good
that'd be,
find.
yeah, like, to hide out as well. But he grabs a pair of J's. I tried like going back and forth like really slowly to see if is he grabbing two pairs. You could only There might be two like an entire pair there, but you see like the one predominantly. And then I was like, is he grabbing it by two hands as he's driving by? Like how's he steering? So I was trying to go through all of that. Am I still doing okay? I got a connection warning here.
Yeah, you'll freeze for like a second or so.
But you can still hear me?
But yeah.
Okay, that's all that matters. All right, so we arrive at Three Rivers to make a drop. I believe it's some food for this fine group of people here. We'll talk about the
Mhm.
food. My Boo by Ghost Town DJs. Are you familiar with the song?
No, yeah, that was I was trying to keep track of all the songs as they were going, and that was the one that I
Ah,
couldn't ID.
okay.
During the mall, we had Cypress Hill. Superstar.
Yes. So we may not be able to do this with every episode, and we'll do it right now. And then we'll figure out if this is something we want to do at the top of the show or
Mhm.
when it comes up during the review. I want to introduce something like my favorite needle drop.
Okay.
Okay, and wait, do I want to say this is mine? Okay, I'm saving it. I'm saving it. But this is worth a mention. My boo was very popular when I was in high school. I feel it was freshman year, and not too long ago, about 6 years ago, I'm assuming, or I'm guessing, they brought the song back in a big way where there was a challenge called the Running Man Challenge. And it was called the Running Man Challenge, but it was like a new school Running Man Challenge, which I did in my male uniform, and we went viral. So I was part of that. So if you type in like mailman, running man challenge, I'm probably gonna be one of the results. I wouldn't say I'm the top one, but I got like a lot of mail carriers from around the country following me after it was being shared at like all these like third party like mail carrier websites and or face groups rather and accounts on Instagram. So that was fun and that was really nice to hear. Now that song, the Ghost Town DJs, I don't know if they ever released like an album themselves, like an artist album, but this was part of a various artists. The first, I believe, the So Deaf Bass All Stars, I believe Volume One. I did tweet it out or mention it somewhere, maybe Volume Two, but it was Jermaine Dupri's label, So Deaf, and so I do have like some memory of that. Um, at this point, he's also greeted by a newbie Abner and asks for ID, which he shows like one of those like little license plate for like a bicycle or something.
Mhm.
Now, Abner, he's really on edge. What's up with this guy? What are your thoughts on Abner?
Oh
He's a
yeah,
new guy.
he's the new guy there watching the gate. Yeah, I just took it as he's not familiar with John, and so he's taking every move as hostile.
So you think that he was already part of the group, like part of this community, and was like maybe upgraded or like this is a new job for him. I just assumed that he was new to the city as well.
I mean, yeah, I took it as like, yeah, he's new to that little like outpost.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah,
Abner.
Abner. Yeah, he definitely seemed to be just like new to the outpost. Everyone was kind of irritated with him.
That does make more sense. Like they know who he is, but he's like the new guy at the post. I just assumed like he was like new to the community because I was thinking, where did they get him? Did he was like wandering? Did he escape from somewhere else? Was he a former vulture? I feel if he was a former vulture, they probably wouldn't welcome him. You know, like it doesn't matter which community you're in.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, let's see. The vehicle Evelyn takes unleaded 93. 93, I feel like I don't see a lot of 93. I don't know if you know much about the gas octane, but
Not at all.
the way the guy comes out with the mask and stuff like that, I wonder if they make it themselves. Because he says like 91 gives Evelyn's the squirts, and as I understand it, the higher the octane, the better performance and long lasting your vehicle is and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
I just thought that was worth noting. Puppy tummies. Would you ever eat dog food? I mean,
I mean, I don't want to say no because then I'm going to find myself in a situation very soon where I'd have to. Uh, but I mean, I probably would. I would probably lean towards getting like, the wet food or something because at least
like cat
it's,
food.
well, I mean, or, dog food or cat food, but, something that's like, this looks kind of like meat, like
Okay.
shredded up,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
So basically like your answer was like, well, what brand are we talking about?
oh, I need the good stuff. Yeah,
So
for
so it's
sure.
not a puppy tummies then. This is low shelf for you.
Although if the hard pellets, if they're closer to flavorless, then it's just like cereal.
Yeah.
I've had some
Yeah.
like healthy adult cereal that tasted like dog food.
Yeah. I mean, these guys are pretty excited about it. So, if they're with it, why not? We have a bit of a montage of runs. Now,
Mm-hmm.
here's my favorite needle drop, Champagne Supernova by Oasis.
Oasis,
Um,
yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, I feel this song came out about 96. And I'm saying that because I kind of remember the MTV Music Awards where they had Bone Thugs and Harmony perform The Crossroads because that was number one for a really long time. They were wearing like these white suits. I can like picture it right now. A huge Bone Thugs and Harmony fan. Um, and I feel it was that same award show is when Oasis performed Supernova or Champagne Supernova. And ever since then, I was just like, man, that song is just like, it's super catchy. And then I kind of, like I hadn't heard it for like a really long time until was it Rock Band or one of those
Oh,
kind of brought it
probably.
back. Yeah. And I feel like it was one of the earlier versions. But you know what? Yeah. So it's kind of been one that I will throw on like, maybe once in a month or so, just because I do have like a playlist of like old songs from the 90s.
It takes me about 20 seconds into the song before I realize it's not Wonderwall. Uh,
Okay, fair. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
both
yeah.
both times I'm like, oh, Wonderwall, and then it's like, why aren't they saying Wonderwall?
Right. Yeah, yeah. I know. I feel that has happened to me, or maybe even at like a karaoke. I'll be like, oh, somebody put on Wonderwall. Nope, it's Champagne Supernova, or one or the other. But I mean, both great songs. Both great songs for sure. We got a dude dressed as a dog.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on that group of people there?
Oh, they look like they have fun.
BDSM type of stuff, or
Yeah,
well,
some type of sub dom, like pet fetishists. Maybe like a
don't they have a
merged with like a
term?
furry.
The furries, is that what they're called? Like the people that like to dress up as animals and
Yeah,
hump
yeah,
each other?
fursuits and although the human dog that we see is more of like a spandex kind of like very
Right.
form fitting. The mask almost looked
Uh,
like a
Spirit of Halloween costume.
superhero.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a super dog or something like that. Didn't really give me furry vibes.
Right, right.
Uh,
That's fair, fair. For that run, he gets rewarded a Bosch Icon 19. I did not look this one up, but Bosch is definitely a brand I'm familiar with. But we'll hear from John later that it's yeah, a performance type windshield wiper. There's a sequence where he's driving, on the open road. There's a
mhm.
helicopter shot down. Now, Gamer J Lee, he did do like a YouTube short slash Instagram reel where he thinks that those are maybe a nod to the helicopters that flew around in the sky in one of the video games. It could be reaching, but did you have any other thoughts about them?
Uh, yeah, not really. I saw that the video as well, and
Hmm.
it struck me as just a helicopter.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, it looks cool. It ages everything, right? Like it's been
oh yeah,
a
it's been there a
post-apocalyptic,
while.
right? Yeah, yeah, exactly. A lot has happened. He gets attacked by a vulture at one point who jumps off from the bridge. Uh, and that was pretty cool. He's got a couple of switches where there's like a gun that kind of acts as like what are those things that the submarines got? Uh, periscopes.
Oh yeah,
And so
Periscope.
it's that type of gun. So I like that. It's kind of funny how, like, I'm assuming that he modified that himself, right? But
Hmm.
then we're gonna find out in a later episode that he put something on incorrectly, like on his vehicle, like
Oh
when
yeah,
when
he
he runs
puts
into the
something on
convoy.
backwards.
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting. Um, let's see what else we got. He pulls over at one point to take a leak, and this is where he
Hmm.
meets Loud and Quiet, who are trying to steal Evelyn. I thought it was a little interesting that he stepped a little far away from the vehicle. I mean, this is like, because plot, right? But
Yeah,
you gotta, I mean, most people assume you're pulling over. There's really nobody around. And
I
what's the name of the vehicle? The hearse.
oh
Um,
Shadow. Shadow's the hearse.
Shadow, right? And
Yeah,
and like you can't disguise that. Like that sticks out.
it's very
You know what I
obvious.
mean?
Yeah.
So here, this is where he kind of does like the T1000 finger, no, no, no. And then I like how quiet she kind of gives him the birdie. Like, do you
Mhm.
think this was like, oh, you got a finger? I don't. Well, fuck you anyway. What was your
Uh,
take on her flipping him the birdie without the finger?
yeah. I mean, that's the closest one she's got
Yeah.
to the right finger.
Other hand, you
Uh,
can do the other
yeah.
hand.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what was it? Loud's, grabbing that one, trying to
That's
pull her
true.
away or
That's true.
whatever.
You're right. You're right.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's the first introduction to like, oh, she's missing a finger.
Right.
Uh,
It's gonna come back.
yeah.
Just setting that up. And then we cut to so late at night. This gave me episode 210 Cobra Kai vibes, where Johnny's on the beach drunk, except for it's John Doe sitting on the hood of his car out on the beach, and he's checking out a family picture, kind of burnt a little bit. And I've never seen this before, and it's kind of interesting where he does a thing where he puts the picture up to the headlight and projects it on a rock as if like the family's there. So
Mhm.
it's not even to project the image of the family. It's just to kind
The
of
kind of shape.
visually, yeah, like the
Yeah.
shadows of people. So that's kind of really interesting there. I really like that. And he eats a seal. Here's your wet
Yeah.
seal. Make a call back.
Specifically the cute baby seal that has come up to try and befriend him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, not gonna lie. I think I was a little bit more grossed out than the seal steak than like the dog food.
Yeah, I mean it looks really wet. Uh, some
There's
weird
that.
meat.
I mean, but I mean, I'm sure he cooked it, really nicely. But just that cut, you guys gave us no heads up. Just immediately, he's like, and then the blood on it. I don't know. There's
Oh
something
yeah,
about that.
you
And I
don't
love
show
me seafood.
something that cute in a post apocalypse and expect it to live.
Twisted Metal said, "Hold my beer." You know. At one point, he's crossing the Golden Gate Bridge and arrives at what we find out to be New San Francisco. The docks out there leading up to the gates filled with the homeless people, kind of look like parts of Portland, not gonna lie. Um, the lead security guard here, his name is Bill, and I guess the package is insulin for him. John kind of makes a comment that he must be eating pretty good if he's going to be needing insulin.
Well, yeah, I think it's he's saying like the insulin's for the city. Actually, he said
I see.
people in there
Mm.
must be eating pretty good if the diabetes is this bad.
Got it. Got it. Okay. And in return, he receives a gun and ammo. I wonder how do they know what to make a payment with? Do you think
Uh,
they're being requested?
No, because I mean, I think he seems not so much like, oh, here's the gun I was anticipating, but like, oh, ooh, a new gun. And so I wonder if it's just like you're going to be compensated, in some way, whether you use this gun or you are now able to sell or trade this gun. Like you got something valuable.
Right. That's really interesting because I kind of want to know what I'll be carrying or like when I'm running, right? Like if it's worth the like going through, driving through a mall, being chased by like three vehicles full of vultures and things like that. Because I'll save my thoughts for a later scene here. Um, all right. At this point, Bill is being told that the COO of New San Francisco. So I should have looked up COO. I wonder if their abbreviation is going to be
I
something different.
I think that it's Chief Operations Officer,
Okay.
but that's my guess.
Right. And they want him to come inside. And this from what we gather from John, that this is the first time he's actually been inside of anywhere, really.
Mhm.
And the other comment I had was the security guard. They all look legit. Like this is a well-established community. They have security guards who have some sense of like uniformity and what they're wearing and stuff like that. So I think this is kind of the end all be all of cities. This is where you want to be, I feel. He gains entrance and parallel parks. I think a lot of people, this is, well, I did a poll. The majority, no, it was very close. It was very close. I think Instagram was actually 50-50. Um, and Twitter, I think this scene had the edge on John learning how to ride a bicycle. So that was 50-50.
Okay.
And I'll leave it at this, but maybe some of the people involved in the show may have chimed in on their preference, whether or not they were
Uh,
also in said episodes.
and
So that's also kind of fun.
uh, I
Yeah.
did count, and it is a 7 point parallel park.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So we should have compared that to Austin Powers. Probably more than
Oh,
seven.
yeah. Hold on. I'll make a note, and we'll try and come back
We
next
will come
time.
back to that. All right. Very good. So here he gets sanitized in something green. Did you have any thoughts on that? Do you think maybe it's a kind of a throwback to Nickelodeon green slime?
Uh, yeah. I took it as like they're delousing him, in some way, but instead of like a powder, it's just this weird viscous, green goo.
Or like Idiocracy, like maybe it's just like Gatorade or something.
Yeah,
Just rinsing him off in Gatorade, perhaps.
it's the most sterile thing we have.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and then his ass sprayed with perfume.
Yeah.
Now, protocol, or do you think his ass in particular? Because we're gonna find out it's kind of solid.
Yeah, I mean
It's a
his
solid ass.
keister there is commented upon, so maybe that was for Raven, that
Yeah,
she
perhaps.
specifically asked.
And since he has a solid ass, the little perfume, let's give him the VIP treatment. Head in a sack with a smiley face. Did you notice the smiley face?
Yeah,
Do you notice it anywhere else later on in the episode?
I did not.
I believe some of the kids have that smiley face on their backpacks.
Oh, okay.
So something possibly worth noting. We meet Raven, played by Nav Campbell. Now, your thoughts of her in this scene. My wife caught a glimpse of it and it's like, why is she acting so terrible? I go, she's putting on right now. I go, yeah, this isn't her character right now, but a lot of us were fooled, and a lot of people, this I feel like if people were live tweeting, this was like a comment they made, like, what is she even doing in this scene? Like in terms of her cadence.
Yeah, and I kind of clocked that the first time too. Was like, oh, this seems very like forced.
Hmm.
Like she's having a hard time like getting this message across. But yeah, I think as we get farther in, things that come to light, I think it
Yeah.
puts it in a new light. Watching it again now, knowing what happens later, it's like, oh, it really comes across as someone who is like holding back disgust for kind of the people around her.
Yeah. For me, I'm trying to figure out like is she like how evil is she? Is she like a mini boss? Is she one of the big bosses? Because she really commits, to this ruse here. And there's things that she does that I'm thinking like if you're, you know, we've referenced Mortal Kombat before, but if you like Shao Kahn, you don't do some of the shit that she actually does because you're above that.
Mhm.
So the fact that she kind of goes through with some of the things here, and we'll get to them, kind of makes me wonder like how bad is she? You see, he's given a beer, which also I want to throw in here that they're inside Kelly's bar, and from what I understand, Kelly is like maybe a girlfriend that Raven had that maybe died, and the bar nod to that character. I know that David Jaffe, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
He was really like people told him about it, and he was really excited to hear, or he was happy to hear about that was also included. So that is from the games itself. But she wants to hire him, and he can't know what's in the package. So this was a
Mhm.
little puzzling to me because she tells him like there's complications, right? And he before she actually says the first one, well, before he guesses it's organs, she says it's not organs. What's the complication of that being organs?
Well, I think it was just there's two complications, and the first is you can't know what it is, and he's like,
Okay,
"Oh,
I
like it's
gotcha.
organs, isn't it?" No, it's not organs. It's never organs. And then yeah,
And
the
yeah,
second complication is where it is.
but like his reaction to like the organs, what do you think that's about? Like, why would he be so excited? Because like it's never organs, right? Is his response?
I think yeah, he just wants to, he wants to deliver live organs. You know,
Yeah, maybe a bucket list, and notch on his belt.
I mean, if I came into work one morning and there was a express that's a live heart, I'd be like, well, this is a pretty memorable day.
Yeah, yeah, I guess so. Okay. Let's see here. It's in New Chicago, which at this point he turns down. He says too far and too risky, but she says she like I kind of forget the exact wording, and I do love her delivery. Do you have it down?
Yeah, she says that she has a lot of power and can make any wish come true.
Yes.
And that which immediately makes me think like, oh, this is them trying to, like, oh, she's Calypso, she can, grant your wishes. She is
Yeah.
the top of the food chain.
It makes me wonder, and again, you guys are probably going to hear a lot of like comparisons to like Mortal Kombat. Just because like these games they came out around the same time. Mortal Kombat came out in 91, I believe it is, the very first game. Twisted Metal 95. Um, if I guess this is more so from the movies, like the Elder Gods, right? Like is Calypso and Raven, are they part of like, quote unquote the Elder Gods? Are they like a equals in terms of the
Mhm.
tiers of bosses? Because they can, I guess, both grant wishes. She's the COO of NSF or I'm sorry, NSF, and then Calypso probably COO of his place, right? Like I saw that episode. I think I saw the back half of season one, probably no more than one to two times, depending on the episode. The first half is where I've seen most of them. So I don't remember the details, like how far did they go to get to Calypso just in that one location. Um, so again, it's none of this stuff is going to be answered in this season, unfortunately. But it's this can help us theorize. Later on after we get done with season one, maybe we could theorize what's to come in season two. Um, she says, okay, so you said what she said, and then he says, okay, how about unlimited gas, new T-shirt. This one's kind of smelly, and what he would do for two-ply toilet paper. Anything to add here?
Uh, nope. Yeah, that's kind of the last thing for when they're in the bar.
Okay, yeah. So three ply, not something I'm familiar with, but I don't do much of the shopping around home. So that would be interesting to find out, though.
It
We'll just have to.
exists,
It
and
does exist. Okay.
you deserve it,
Do
Peter.
I?
You
Yeah.
deserve it.
Okay. Well, I will have to look into it. We cut to Nevada. This is where Loud and Quiet are being chased by the lawmen, to include Agent Stone and Agent Shepard, who looks like, yeah, it's just another Tuesday for them. Um, Here we also find out that Loud calls Quiet Lil Bunny. So I'm assuming, right, they're very close. We're gonna see some more sequences later in flashbacks. But this is really sweet to me because um I have a 11-year-old son, and the next child down is my 4.5 daughter, and I feel like my 11-year-old adores his daughter, and like he does actually have his own like little terms of endearment for her. So I thought this is really sweet. What is your kind of thoughts on the brother and sister, Loud and Quiet, and the lawman?
Uh, yeah, I mean, so the introduction here, where we're actually seeing them, interact, seems like they've been on the run, for quite a while. They've amassed a lot of junk, as Loud mentions, if they're going to be, I think, stealing so much stuff, they need to stay organized. And yeah, we see him grab a flail with grenades on the end that he
Hmm.
spins around, launching them at the lawmen. Um, and yeah, Thomas Hayden Church as Agent Stone, and Agent Shepard. Was it James?
It's Jared Bankins.
Jared Bankins, yeah.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and they, I think we got a good, initial kind of adversary here, adversarial relationship. Um, yeah, I don't know if you want to get into the scene that comes up
This
next.
Yeah, that I'll well the one that comes up next goes back to John, but just
Mm.
I guess a little bit here. So Loud, I did mention it earlier, is played by Richard Cabral, and Stephanie Beatriz plays Quiet. And one thing I did thought was interesting. I'm gonna go back and forth a little bit from later sequence with this grouping, but I do find it interesting that Loud, he's very loud in the sequence. You know,
Mm.
he's brash and he's shouting and he's cursing, but then later on, you know, you don't really see none of that. He's really putting on. So maybe more on that a little bit later. Did you want to add anything before I jump back to John real quick?
Nope.
All right, so John checks out this apartment that Raven had taken him to. He thinks it's an ambush because she steps away momentarily, but brings down her husband Noah and baby Dove. And do you remember what like your initial thought was about this when the scene was playing out? Were you just kind of letting it play out, or were you already kind of starting to try to guess what was going on?
Yeah, when I first saw it, I remember thinking that it was just like, oh, it's very over the top, kind of like cheesy, like, oh, look how nice things are, look at the baby. uh and I remember thinking, like, this, this has to be a put on. And then, John thinks, like, oh, it's a, right before they come down, oh, he thinks there's an ambush, and then he meets a baby for the first time, and he's kind of won over. um but yeah, I was definitely like thinking that there's no way things are, this nice, and that she is this nice.
Right, and the reason that I was maybe not trying to really figure out what was going on, but the idea that Nev Campbell is cast as this role, to kind of give it, you know, a little bit of oomph. But I feel that some of the things I saw on social media, people were like, "Oh, she's Raven," and that seemed like a big deal to people. So I didn't think like this was like nothing, right? So like this had to be something. So I was paying a little bit more attention, but was definitely not trying to guess exactly what's going on. I did miss this joke like the first time around, and I think I only figured it out in preparation for our like season one recap, the whole Jello thing, you know,
Oh yeah.
because like I remember my first initial watch, I was like, why is he keep bringing back the Jello? Like that's like it just kept on going over my head until I think it was like quiet. Like she asked him like, what was going on when they said that or whatever, and he had to think about it. I was like, oh damn. So anyway, so that's funny. Not familiar with Jello. Um, Now, there's also a sequence where they're cooking together, John and Raven, and I missed this a
Mm.
few times as well. He got his knife taken when he was undressed. This is the knife that was taken,
Yeah.
right? She's giving it back to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I
Uh,
did miss that the first few times.
yeah, and the most disturbing thing about this scene is Raven is cooking some type of like meat. It looks like a tenderloin or something like that. I'm not really sure.
I
Uh,
just it was like a big sausage.
I thought it was big sausage, but then I was like,
Hmm.
well, that's a really big sausage. That's kind of weird. I don't know.
Uh,
But as
I
she
mean,
pulls,
it's slightly thicker than like a Polish dog from Costco, I feel. You know?
yeah, I don't know. It looks like the size of like my arm. I don't know.
Okay.
But she
Hmm.
pulls it off the out of the pan, and then he starts chopping the asparagus. Like you can't pull your meat off and then start your asparagus. Like there's no way that those are going to match up. The cooking time is way off.
Well, yeah, yes, but also asparagus is thicker, right? So like, don't shouldn't you also steam those? Like, depending how you're gonna,
You should be way
so
farther along with this asparagus.
exactly. So there you guys go. Just a little cooking tidbit. I don't cook at all, but I know that much, right? Like the asparagus is a little bit thicker. Like depending how what you're planning to do with it, you might want to steam that a little bit too. So, I mean, the Raven definitely doesn't cook, right? She's putting on,
That's the
you know,
first giveaway right there.
exactly. Like we should have figured it out right there. Let's see. Okay, almost forgot dessert jello. Okay, so it does appear that he accepts the challenge, basically. She tells him that he's got 10 days to deliver the package. Okay, so there's a time clock now. And they fixed his window, right? So just doing everything to kind of say, hey, like this is your best option. Like, you're gonna live here. These are just the little things that we can do for you. Imagine if you actually lived in the community. So, I mean, I'm sold, right? Like window, an apartment, a chance to possibly start my own family. I've never seen a baby before. Now I have. I've never had a sausage that tastes so good, whatever it is, bratwurst. I don't know, you know. Uh,
We missed the scene earlier where um, Raven takes John out into the city to kind of show him, oh, all of the things that you could have, and
yeah,
it's a brief like it's only like 10 seconds or something,
I
and
did miss that part. Yeah,
he's like, oh, what, I can have a souvenir? I want that girl's hat, and it's
yeah,
the
just
fuzzy white bucket hat,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
The,
in this
just randomly.
scene he's flashing through all of the things that he's going to get, the apartment, like, safety or whatever, and then the bucket hat.
Oh, was that part of the flashback too?
Yeah.
That's funny. So I missed that little detail, but I do love the idea. I mean, maybe it's not the idea, but she takes him out into that town, and it's like, well, this is the display. So people are just walking around. You just decide what you want, take it. It's like that hat, super rad. The girl should be like, no, it's mine. That'd be pretty funny. Fixed to his window. She must really think he's the one, right? Like of all the milkmen that have come, like this is the guy. So there's
Yeah, she says something about like, you're the only milkman who has made
consistent and
deliveries to us more than 2 times.
okay,
You've
okay.
been here dozens of times, and no one else has been here more than twice.
Which is, I mean, which is probably true, but we will find out obviously in the finale that there's more to it than that. So I keep forgetting. I was like, what makes him so special? Well, we don't know that answer yet. All right, so checks the apartment, 10 days, pay. Oh, all right, so he takes off. Did you count how many times it took him to get turns?
Yes, depending on the editing, because he backs up once and then it shows him, it cuts and he's backing up still, and like that doesn't make sense. But so it's either 3 or 4 point to get
Got it.
out of the spot. So it's
Better to get
improved.
out.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, very good. See, so practice makes perfect. Um, and then we find out that it was all a ruse. We kind of already talked about it. The baby is somebody else's, and poor Noah, he has to go back to his appointment or to his apartment where there's a payment left for him.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm like, how bad is she? Because she hired Noah. He's getting paid, and he's not dying. The baby doesn't die. We're hoping, you know. So this is where also like she went as far as like kiss Noah when he came downstairs, right? And she's holding the baby, but then like cleans her hands of the baby stuff after she hands it off. It's just kind of like, what is going on with this character?
So, yeah, they really drill it home by her being like, she wants to immediately clean her hands, once she hands the baby off, and yeah, Noah, yeah, he's going to be oh, I'm done with him. He's going to get his payment or whatever. But it's not like Noah just walks away. Then the
Yeah,
guards come, like forcibly like take him. And it's like he could probably walk back to his apartment.
probably could. I mean, he might have been up in his feels at the moment. Like that kiss had probably meant something to him.
Yeah,
He's like, I'm just gonna
that was the
scan here real quick.
COO.
Yeah, right, right. I mean, come on. Like, okay, you can keep the payment. Can I like still be your husband? Yeah. So shout out to Noah again, played by Han Soto. He was also in season 3 of Cobra Kai. Let's see here. Let's see. We go back to the lawman, who I guess had pulled over loud and quiet. And do you think they drove off, or do you think they caught up to Loud and Quiet, who was already on the run?
Oh, so yeah, at this point, yeah, they've they Stone had shot like a rocket at him and it
Yeah.
missed, and they're swerving. But then he's like, "I've got you, now or whatever." And yeah, he flips a bunch of switches in the car, and it looks like mines or something like detonate because it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
explosions out of the ground. So like they must have been like kind of funneling them to this area. This
I think
their
so.
graveyard because all the other
Right.
cars are
Because
there.
we're gonna see the other cars, but also if you think back to the first time we see Agent Shepard, like, yeah, again, I kind of joked that it was just another Tuesday for them. They knew where they were going, right? Like you said, they're funneling. They got all these other like troll bikes or whatever vehicles. So that's yeah. I do think that that's their stomping grounds. Is that graveyard? Did you have more to add? Jeg is a brand I saw inside. Do we know what vehicle this one is? Is this like outlaw? Like,
Oh
um,
yeah, I don't know.
okay. So I did see like some dials or whatnot that had the label like Jag on it, and I looked it up, and it is like a car part manufacturer type place. So that's real. I don't think they make these types of like switches and things, but it is a real brand. Um, so this is also so the car flips and then I had mentioned earlier that Loud, this is where he's like, "Oh, you got the wrong people, like, we didn't do that." His tone demeanor changes, right? Because now
Mhm.
they're really outnumbered and have nowhere to go. I thought that was interesting because it's like he two he played it really differently. On the run and then in front of the lawmen.
Yeah, I think he's calling
The
him Sir now.
yeah, there's that too. Um, I'm blanking on the name. Agent Stone. He tells them the story about police chief named Breton. And this is like the classic story of just kind of weaning out the weak, type of thing, right?
Yeah,
He
and
uses a
it's
different story as a different analogy.
yeah, and he's talking about William Bratton, who's actually a real person.
Okay.
He was the police chief appointed by Giuliani in '94,
Mm,
and yeah, he kind of ushered in the acceptance of the idea of the broken windows theory, which is if there's litter and graffiti everywhere, those are small crimes, but those are going to attract, larger crimes. And that's kind of what Stone is saying here is he saved New York by going and snuffing out the little sins so that they couldn't grow into, larger
mm.
sins. And
In
now
in Sin
he's
City in
and
Nevada.
now he's going to go do that, on the roads of America now.
Right. He looks up to his father. We're gonna find out more about his backstory, but I forgot to look that up, and I should have known, if MJ was gonna include, like names and references, probably, gonna be something real that's worth your time Googling things. Um, and then basically Stone kind of gives these two the option either pay for he he says, okay, he throws in the revolver and basically, one of you guys kill yourself, and then the other one will be spared, basically, right?
Yeah.
What was the other option?
Well, he says you're
Both of them die?
either we nuke you both,
Okay.
or one of you can go out as a sacrifice for the other, or whatever.
got it. And so that's why they, uh, Quiet in like the way I'm reading her eyes, she thinks that there's an understanding that okay, they're both willing to die right here. But I mentioned like I'm reading that they are really tight, brother and sister, that at this point Lao's like, no, screw this, I want my sister to live, boom, shoots himself. One thing I did forget to mention about these two was oh, not these two, I'm sorry. In that story, I forgot to look this up, and I feel like if you did, you would have mentioned it perhaps. But Juki, by Juki, did you look up what that expression is?
No, I did not.
Okay, that's like I don't know if it's a signature, but MJ kind of like brings out like these old fashioned like in Cobra Kai, right? Like Heaven from Mana. Wait, did he write that? Okay, you know what? Take that one out. But he did at some point, like Terry Silver says, like, why can't you just let like sleeping dogs lie? So like there's these expressions that like probably were used at some point that not a lot of people use anymore, and he kind of inserts those sometimes when he writes, and I really like that. So like by Juki, like that stood out the very first time. I was like, who the hell says that?
So,
What you
yeah,
got?
nothing comes up on Google trying to find that as a
Okay,
phrase.
yeah, maybe something like a Topeka slang, like Kansas slang. Yeah,
Yeah.
by Juki. Huh.
And we did right before, as he's like giving them the speech, oh, I'm going to, give you this chance or this offer or whatever. He does say, refer to Quiet as Loud's lover,
Oh,
and
right.
then he says, she's my sister. We have the same parents. And then Stone says, I know what a sister is.
I just I like the idea if like we'll bring it again when bring it up again when it comes up, but I was like Agent Stone's older, right? Like I just feel if anybody, he's not one that needs to be explained what a brother and sister is. Just because he's older, like he probably knows what that means. But I just like how like just that little break in levity because he's like I know what a sister is, yeah. But I just what I do appreciate also is that that didn't set him off,
Mhm.
like oh you're gonna die for that comment, like making undressing him, so to speak. So yeah, I do like that line. I have it written in here somewhere, but my notes are kind of just bunched up in paragraphs. But we cut to Tommy's Guides, which needs to be a
Mhm.
diner. So we're assuming that he did own this diner. John Doe walks in there, and then there's like some sort of like a booby trap, right? And from the scene, we find out that they do know each other, and I'm assuming probably the first time that they met, Tommy probably saved him somehow because we get that as much, but
Mhm.
Tommy seems to be a guy that I feel like back in the day, he used to have this diner and people would always come by and it's like, we just gotta stop by Tommy's Diner. That's just the spot that you stop at for your little R&R, what have you. And over time, as things fell to shit, the fall happens. Uh, I don't know. I was thinking the maps were like menus, that he had or like coloring stuff for kids. So that's kind of what I think. Like he had like a coloring menu for like every state or something. I'm not sure. Did you have any other guesses?
Yeah, I mean the fact that he has not just like ones of the entire United States, but yeah, you can see he has ones that are individual states.
Regional,
It
yeah.
it would be weird, you know. I feel like if I went into a diner in Oklahoma and then I got a map of Nevada or something, like, oh, that's,
Yeah.
I don't know, that's weird. Why do you have all of these? Maybe a truck tipped over, and
Hmm.
you just like he got a whole shipment.
I feel like there's something about Tommy that that makes people trust him and knows. Okay, I think maybe a very specific circuit of people, knows that you go to Tommy because we don't even know like what makes these maps special, right? Like I think second episode, third episode, um, maybe second or third episode, we find out what makes these special. They kind of have like certain routes that avoid like the checkpoints and
Yeah.
the lawmen and stuff like that. So that's what makes him so different. And so I do think that you have to, yeah, this one's a mystery to me. Um, I was just trying because we talked about the trailer breakdown. I was like, oh, they maybe he took him in or something like that. So it wasn't that deep. So Tommy is just now the maps guy with the special maps.
Hmm.
And this is where we learn a few things. We do know basically everything on the east, right? Like basically outside of the West Coast, I feel, right? Like even Midwest included. Everything outside of like Oregon, Washington, California, maybe Idaho, maybe Montana. Everything else after that is just you don't want to go there. There's Tommy talks about, let's see here, outside of like the green zone, let's call it that for lack of a better word, outside of what is covered, there's 2,132 miles of no cover,
Hmm.
meaning no safe haven. Nobody to take you in. You're on your own.
Yeah.
The vultures out there are worse than the vultures nearby. And so this is a thought that I was holding on to from earlier when I was thinking, I think John Doe, like when he's like kind of like in that what I was referring to as like a green zone, I think he's more inside his element and he's not as scared, just he knows that he's got cover, right?
Hmm.
So that's why he didn't want to take this job from Raven because there's no cover and he knows that. And that's where you see him more on guard, right? Like
Hmm.
you see, okay, okay, there is fear in him after all. So it does paint kind of a picture out there. Tommy does ask him a really great question. Is the risk worth the reward? Because they, kind of alluded to like you know what's out there, Sweet Tooth over in Las Vegas. Anything else that I not mentioned about Tommy? Any thoughts on Tommy, the map guy? The what about the idea of like him booby trapping, right? Like that's how dangerous his uh, or that's how important, I guess, his maps are, or how significant, right? Like people are willing to come and kill him or steal his maps.
Uh,
Vultures.
yeah, I mean, I think a combination of that and just in general, any any building that's still standing is probably going to attract somebody, coming through.
That's fair. Okay.
Passing by might come in. Um, but I don't know. I kind of thought, uh, because yeah, the maps, do prove to be kind of like it is showing like outposts or things that are going to be helpful along the way, but they are placemat maps, and so like there's no real roads there. Like how helpful can it really be to know that just like, yeah, somewhere in northwest Montana there's a person that can help you, but it's hundreds of miles. So I kind of was taking it more as he's like an eccentric, like
Okay.
maybe he's not even Tommy. Maybe he just took over the place,
Right.
and that's where I'm going to sell my maps, and I'm Tommy now.
Okay. Okay, that's
Yeah.
fair. What do you take with the okay, let me add this. I
Hmm.
thought, for lack of a better word, I thought it was kind of cute the way John Doe paid with crayons.
Oh yeah,
And the kind of just the look that he gave him, like, thank you, like
and that's another thing I was going to mention. Yeah, is maybe it's he paid with crayons there, and maybe other people that come in, exchange maps or something like, oh, I picked this up from a Denny's,
okay.
400 miles away or something. Here's that in exchange for something local or something like that.
I could see that, like yeah, people stopping by. I'm like, I'm from Arizona. Boom, here's your Arizona maps, something like that. All right, now here's the big question: what's up with the crayon drawn dick?
Oh, a good time.
Okay, all right, like Dumb and Dumber, good time, or I mean, I immediately went to my mind went to Rocket Ship, right from Cobra Kai, right? Johnny spray painting, a dick on Daniel LaRusso's billboard. That kind of kind of what I was thinking. But it's definitely a distraction. It's going to come up again
Yeah,
in in a later episode.
Tommy gets bored, while
Yeah,
he's filling in the other stuff.
like he was going to draw a legend, right, for that Dick, and just didn't complete it. So yeah, I mean, another reason, selfishly, another reason why I can't wait for the issues to be resolved with the strikes, because like I'm just chomping at the bit to like pick some of these, writers and directors' brains about like some of these things. I have questions, as everyone does. Now, brief sequence introducing Sweet Tooth, Wheels on the Bus, right? This is obviously like the music box version of it kind of thing. Now Raven, she was singing the Wheels on the Bus to the baby earlier in the apartment as well. Do you think there's any connection there?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't put that together. I'm not sure what connection there would be. Doesn't seem like they run in the same circles.
Yeah. Is he
But
the
but
COO?
but Sweet Tooth does seem to be known. Because Tommy mentions like
That's right.
the guy out in Nevada or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, maybe he is just a prominent enough figure that everyone knows that song.
All right. Now, also, what is he doing right here? Is he gyrating? Is he humping
That's
something? Like,
the exact
so
word I have here in my notes is gyrating.
that's what he's doing. You know,
It's,
what I love about it is how random it is, and I like that type of humor, just randomness, absurdity. I'm just like because for me it's like, ooh, Sweet Tooth, like he's pretty scary, right? He's the face of Twisted Metal and all these video games. We know the teeth and stuff. He's kind of reminiscent of the um I believe the Dream Warriors cover art, the Nightmare on Elm Street. There's one of
oh yeah,
them, right? Is that the right one I'm thinking of?
I think so.
So like in the Twisted Metal cover arts, like the PlayStation, like Twisted Metal, I think four maybe specifically, it reminds me of the Dream Warriors, the Freddy Krueger phase. But anyway, like I think a lot of people they think of Sweet Tooth, they think of menacing and whatever, and like the first glimpse we see of him, he's gyrating. And it's kind of like, wait, what the fuck? I think, in my opinion, maybe it's just like it's one of those like we're gonna give you the tone of Sweet Tooth right now. Like he's a little silly, okay? So don't expect him to be so menacing. I mean, we got some really good scenes with him coming up for sure, but I just
Oh
thought
yeah,
his introduction was really random. And I thought it was really funny.
yeah. He's got
Um,
moves for sure.
yeah, he does. He does. I mean, look, when you're bumping the Silver Hair God's music all the time, you can do that. I mean, all the gyratings to Drew Hill songs. Um, he hears a vehicle coming, and who else also hears a vehicle coming is Quiet, who is
Mm-hmm.
still in Nevada. So, that we got that little title card earlier to let us know where she was, and she's looking at her branding, and also hears John coming. She's wearing Quiet's jacket. Were you about to say something?
Oh no.
No. Oh, okay. And let's see here. This is where he gets distracted by the John Dick, and he loses Quiet briefly, and then she shows up and she puts a gun to his head through the window. He says it's rude to not introduce herself before pulling a gun on someone, and then she fires a shot and puts the muzzle in the mouth. That part stuck out to me because that muzzle should be hotter than shit. Therefore, putting it in his mouth would burn his tongue and inside. So
Yeah, yeah. He wouldn't be quipping.
no, no. But maybe this motor mouth, right? Right? Like he's maybe his mouth is actually can sustain the heat. We'll find out. Like he spits fire as well. So um, let's see. Quiet looking at her branding. Already read that. Okay, so he recognizes her from earlier because of the missing finger, and then they see Sweet Tooth approaching. He sees the brain matter, blood on her jacket. Remembers she was with someone else wearing the coat, and offers her a way out of this. And they both draw their weapons as we cut to an up close shot of Sweet Tooth and fade to black. And that's the episode. So, did you have any last thoughts on that particular sequence there? Just the last few seconds, because that's like all of like 5 minutes. When he runs into her. Actually, even Sweet Tooth, I believe, is all.
Yeah, it does a whole lot in the right there at the end. I remember when I was taking my notes, I was like, man, they got a lot of stuff to to cover in only a few more minutes.
Yeah.
But I don't have anything more to add on that scene. Yeah, ends with Sweet Tooth just barreling down on them. Um, but did we mention when Stone, after Loud kills himself, Stone notices Quiet's finger?
We did not mention that.
Okay, yeah, he notices her missing finger and recognizes it,
From
and
Orange County.
comments like, "Oh, you're from Orange County. I've heard of the barbaric things they do to their own to keep
Yeah.
them in line,"
Yeah.
which is
So that
foreshadowing.
exactly that it is, and that's not something I caught until maybe like the third. I've seen the first episode like 10 times, and I think it was about like my third viewing. It was when I was all like, "Oh, that's when he pegs her as like somebody from the OC," and it's just one of those lines that just went over my head, not thinking that it was ever going to come back. So again, there's a lot of like, um, I thought they did a really good job at just kind of crafting
Mm-hmm.
like their corkboard conspiracy theory. Like I don't know how to else to explain it, but just tying all these things in because you have to remember the flashbacks and like scars and things on people's faces and stuff. So yeah, it's just one of those that you just kind of blink and you miss it lines. Definitely not a throwaway because it comes back, but it is interesting, and we'll definitely get to it when we get to that episode. But just the fact how living in that community, how that affected Quiet and her not speaking, and then how it affected Loud.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely get there. I'm just kind of looking over my notes, and I don't think I have anything else that I kind of missed out on.
No, that's all I
Um,
got.
okay. So, if you guys have anything else to add, you could definitely send in an email, with your thoughts, maybe some Easter eggs if you want to share some of those as well. You can send your correspondence to twistedmetalpod@gmail. You can also find me at Twisted Metal Pod on, let's see, Instagram, and I believe that's the same for Twitter as well. I'm still debating whether or not to, with Cobra Kai, what I do at the end of every episode. I toss in like the one line that kind of made me laugh or whatever. But the thing with me and Watch Party over there, like sometimes I will intentionally omit that particular line, and then he'll be like, it'll come back up. He'll say it or something. I'm like, oh man, that was my line. And so, but anyway, the jury's still out on that, whether or not I do that, because it's not going to be something that's like, oh, that, haha, that's funny. It's just something that stuck out to me that I may say, who knows? We'll see. We'll see. Um, okay. So the next episode, will be episode 102, Three Ring Circus. So I wonder what that's going to be about. Um, we'll get to it when we get to it. That's why when we first started this coverage, we put out that, we're not going to have like a specific date or day of the week where we release new episodes. I do host a few other podcasts as well, but, it, sometimes it's very difficult to schedule a recording. Tyler knows this better than anybody. I don't know how many times we had to postpone and reschedule, but, we will definitely get to them when we can. Tyler, where can people find you if they want to carry on the conversation?
You can find me at 300 points. That's 300 PTS at on Twitter. You can see my sick jokes about Mitch McConnell's health. And if I'm going to PAX, the Seattle convention, this weekend, so if you see me there, I'll be extremely surprised that you recognize me, but say hello.
Well, there we go. And this should be up before then for sure. All right, you guys, that's gonna do it. And till the next episode, Jello.
I know what a sister is.